Hello and welcome to Dan's Drives, the car show for cars that are anything but normal. Welcome to the very first episode of Dan's Drives. This week we've got a real treat. Andrew's concourse condition 66 C2 Corvette.
Here you go, Dan. Here's the key. Let's go for a drive.
Cheers, mate. Let's do the same speed. Let's do the same as everyone else.
How do you feel, Dan, about to drive this car?
Both very nervous and very excited. Any sort of tricks, or does it just start?
Turn the key.
What a gem.
Chevy, mate.
Okay, indicators are there.
Indicators are there.
There's the gear stick,
That's
park
the
light.
handbrake, park brake. Yep.
Everything else is pretty straightforward, correct?
Yeah. How you going to go drive on the left-hand side, mate?
I've driven left hook before.
No?
Yeah, Chevy truck. Just runs like an absolute clock, doesn't it, Andrew?
It does. It runs like a dream, mate. And we're off.
And we're off. This car is amazing. Standard height,
Standard height.
standard exhaust.
Standard exhaust. And the car was fully rebuilt, chassis off a restore in 2017, and then I bought it in June 2018. So I didn't have to pay for the restore, so I got a bargain, I reckon.
And it is immaculately restored.
It is.
Let's take it for a drive, see how she feels.
And the power of the power glide, mate. Look at that, 1 gear, 2 gears.
2 gears is all you need. Chevy knew that. Any more than that, you're just overcomplicating things.
The only problem with this car is that it's completely standard, so the exhaust is standard, so it's very quiet.
See how she goes. It's not bad.
It's
In
all right.
66, that would have been, you know, you can imagine driving this thing. Back then, it would have
Yeah.
been.
And the radio, there's the radio. Let's see what the radio has to say. So that's an original 1966 radio, factory radio.
Still works.
Still works with electric aerial, and it was factory optioned. And the interesting thing about the radio is that the radio cost more than the option of the automatic power glide.
Really?
So the radio
Wow.
was $199, and I think if you look on the sale docket, you'll find that the transmission option was $196.
Incredible.
Yeah,
So you paid more for a radio back then than for a
auto.
Still works.
And
Were they
it's got
factory FM?
factory FM. It's a factory FM AM radio. It's got factory aircon.
Power steer, as I said, the thing drives like, it doesn't feel like a car from 66. This,
Nah. Plant it. Go, plant it. Oh, there's the cops.
It just handles on road like a modern car. It really does, doesn't it?
No, that's
No
because of
noises,
the
rattles.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. All fiberglass body, and that's because it's got the independent rear suspension, which certainly makes a big difference. Even in modern cars, you've got a solid axle car, they bounce around a lot more than an independent.
And I'm right in saying these are 4-wheel disc.
Four-wheel disc, yep. So this car was actually, I think the story of this car was that it was modelled after the European sports cars, because everyone in America was buying European sports cars like the E-Type Jag, for example, and bringing them in. So America, and Chevy in particular, wanted to have an American sports car.
And it's certainly got that sort of body style to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was classic. This is the first. C2 was the first, well, he introduced the Stingray body. And I think this body was modelled off a Shark. That's why it's got the gills on the side. Planner, that's it. Feel that power of 327 Gen 1 motor.
In 66 for a small block car, this would have been going.
Yeah.
It just coming off the throttle and slowing down to an idle, the thing just is so smooth. I can't get over it for a 1966 car.
The trick is tuning the carbies, mate, those hollies are tricky to tune.
Yeah, they can get a horrible dead spot if people play with them and don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. So it's got the auto, the power glide in it, the 2-speed, which I think was first introduced into the Corvettes.
Because the original glides were cast iron case, and then these are obviously an alley case. They're still called a power glide, they're a completely different gearbox, so I'm told. But I think as a cruising sort of car, this is just perfect. Like, I mean,
yeah, it cruises great.
Don't have to worry about gears, it's just smooth power.
Yep. Just doesn't do burnouts. You can't do donuts in it. Can't smoke it. Looks fast, but it doesn't do burnouts.
I dare say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you've tried.
I have tried numerous times. But yeah, no, it's fully detailed underneath. Engine bay's fully detailed.
Yeah, I was admiring that earlier. The underside of the car looks like it's never been on dirt. Obviously, James, Doom Detail, looks after all that side of things.
Yeah, so James does a great job.
Keeping it incredibly tidy.
Yeah, well, the first thing we did when we bought it was James went and got some ceramic coat and put on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he put 2 or 3 layers of ceramic coating on it to take it into the exhibition buildings.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really shined the Juco.
It really does look like it's fresh off the production line body. Head
Around
back,
the corner, mate.
around the roundabout.
Plan it! Plan it now, go! Plan it!
It's a classic car.
Oh. That's it. What is this joker doing? There's a lane!
Yeah, power of that 327.
Yeah, mighty 300 horsepower.
It's written there on the rocket cover, so it must be true. And very smooth power delivery off the mark.
Oh, it is, yeah. Fantastic. And it hardly feels the bumps with the independent suspension.
Oh, it just rides like a new car, yeah.
The power system brakes help immensely.
Yeah, yes, definitely. That really pulls, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They were never sold as a standard, production. Well, they were a production car, but they were never your standard run-of-the-mill car, were they? They were a performance car from the factory.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the 327 Chevy 327 engine, I think, was designed for the Corvette. I think the 327 first came out in, I believe it came out, it might have been 62 or 63. But all C2s had the standard C2, they all had the standard 327 was a standard.
And how do you find it driving a left-hand drive car? Obviously it's nicer, I think it's nicer than having an original car like this converted.
Yeah, they lose their value if they're converted. But it takes a bit to get used to.
Yeah.
Because you feel like when you're driving on a single lane road, you always want to drive over to the right hand side more so the passenger side ends up in the oncoming traffic.
Yep.
Which can be a bit discouraging.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it's pretty good. You get used to it pretty easily.
And it's not a particularly big car to be driving, It's, like you said, it's different to get used to, but there's not that huge amount of width in the car.
So yeah, it's just a cruiser. Likes to just cruise highway speed.
Yep.
One thing about it being an old car in traffic, they tend to heat up a bit.
Okay. And do you think that'd be a Corvette thing as well, being the shape of the front of the body? There's not a huge amount of ventilation there, is there?
No, and plus with the air conditioning unit, radiators in front, air conditioning radiators in front of the radiators.
And especially get on with the air conditioning on in traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the big blocks heat up even more.
Yeah, in that engine bay, especially for an early car, there's not a lot of room, is there?
No, it's not.
But as you said, as a cruiser, this is it's really fantastic. It's a very smooth, very comfortable car.
Yeah, they're a classic. It's the classic Corvette shape, the C2.
It is, it really is.
And the Corvette's always been a fiberglass car.
Yep.
And they're sort of try to stay true to this shape.
And I think
all the way
throughout all the different variations of the Corvette, they've always sort of been the forefront for Chevy, as in they were always the first to get the new release motors, higher performance, brakes, suspension. They were really they're sort of front line sort of car.
Yeah, prestige car, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got the original clock in it, 1966.
Still works.
And it still works.
Amazing.
And it's just basically, I love the cockpit in these cars.
Yeah, it really is. It's just a great instrument cluster. It's just amazing in front of you, steering wheel.
Yeah, like a rocket ship.
The whole sort of atmosphere of the car is, isn't it? It's just
They were the cars that they gave to the astronauts in the 60s. Neil Armstrong,
really does just idle for an early motor. 66,
Yeah.
really runs nice, very
Yep.
smooth.
And the fact that it's got like it's from the factory, they had a standard Holly on it, 4-barrel 600 Holly.
Okay, so that's factory fitment.
Factory fitment, yeah.
Holly, yeah, okay.
Wow.
How'd it go?
Wow. 1966, what an amazing car. Thing drives like it's just out of a factory today. No rattles, noises, very smooth power. It really is amazing that the car of that era drives like that. The power's awesome, like that's pretty good power. I'm surprised, like you said, it was not slow for 66.
It's you get stuff and go when you're playing it, but it's not like push you back in the seat power. It doesn't seem to have the power to do burnouts.
But you can imagine driving that in 1966, like you
Yeah.
were.
Well, with the 4-speed, when they come out with a 4-speed and a 3-speed, and the 4-speed and the 3-speed, the manuals, that would have had a lot more get up and go.
Well, Andrew, it's an absolute gem of a car. Thank you for letting me take it for a drive.
All right, I hope you enjoyed it.
I absolutely loved it.
That's good, mate.
See you next week on Dan's Drives.